If I could sit across from myself before I received my MS or multiple sclerosis diagnosis, I wouldn't warn her per se. I would simply hold her hand. There are some things that I would proactively tell her to do because the woman that I was before my MS diagnosis needed my compassion, not my criticism. I'm going to share with you 6 things that I would have told my younger self before I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And then at the end of the video, I'll share 4 things that I would tell her after she received the diagnosis. All right, let's get into it. So here are the 6 things I would tell myself before I faced a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis in 2014. So, sitting my younger self down, and there's a few things that I would tell her to be wary of. So the first one is nutrition. I really truly believe that I didn't take care of my gut health in my 20s, which led to leaky gut and was one of the contributing factors to me receiving the diagnosis. And so I would tell her to really learn how to cook. When I was home with my mom was a really good cook and she would cook all of our dinners. I would have asked to be in the kitchen and show a little bit more interest so I could learn to cook for myself because I was the queen of heating things up from frozen. So we're talking frozen nuggets, hash browns, pierogies, like you name it. If it was in a box and it was frozen, I would just heat it up and eat that for dinner because I was looking for convenience in my 20s. So I would explain to her that a lot of my choices, especially eating gluten and dairy, was just eroding my gut. And that was going to contribute to leaky gut, which was one of the contributing factors to me receiving the diagnosis. So if I focused on whole foods and learning how to cook for myself much earlier, I would have discovered that there's a lot of meals that are easy to cook, and frozen meals don't technically mean easier. I would warn her about, but I would do it with compassion because I know she was just trying to handle university and work life and taking care of herself and living on her own and eating at the same time. All right, the second thing I would tell her, and this was one of the things that I didn't realize had contributed to me being diagnosed with MS until after the fact, but was staying in toxic relationships for any amount of time was detrimental to my ability to handle stress. And so I would tell my younger self that the minute I see red flags, I need to get out of that relationship as fast as possible. All right, the third thing I would tell my younger self is that stress is not a badge of honor. And so I was definitely a part of the hustle mentality, hustle culture. And so I would tell my younger self that I don't need to take on all of these responsibilities. I would tell my younger self that I didn't need to climb the corporate ladder. I didn't need to do 1,000,001 goals, that I really was working myself into the ground. And that stress was going to be another contributing factor to me developing this autoimmune disease. Okay, along the same lines, number 4, I would tell her is that her worth is not measured by her output. I was subscribing to this mentality that I needed to achieve all of these things. I needed to, get to a certain place in my career. I needed to achieve all these goals. I needed to have all these accomplishments for people to see me as worthy. And so I would tell her that she is just worthy as is, like she was born worthy. She doesn't need to prove that to anyone through the things that she does. Okay, back to lifestyle. Number 5, I would tell her that sleep is very important. When she was in that toxic relationship, she had a lot of insomnia and she developed really poor sleeping habits. And I would tell her that it's so key to get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep, that those endless clubbing nights and partying nights or, dating and just being out on the town all the time was really harmful to her body. So being very precious with that sleep time, that 7 to 8 hour window, I would tell her is one of the most important things she can do outside of nutrition. Number 6, I would tell her that workouts don't need to be punishment, that they can be supportive. I was part of the obstacle course racing world for a time. I was also part of the fitness competition world. And so workouts were a bit punishing. I was punishing my body to make it look a certain way. And then I was punishing my body to get through a race or through a course. And so I need to go back and tell her that this sufferfest mentality is not one that she needs to be a part of, and that it's not actually going to be supportive for her body in the long term. If this video is resonating with you, whether you're newly diagnosed or have a friend who is recently diagnosed with MS, 1, I want to hold your hand if you are recently diagnosed, and 2, if you have a friend that is facing this diagnosis, would you send them this video? I want you to know that you're not alone. Don't forget to hit subscribe so we can keep walking this journey together. Okay, so here are the 4 things that I would tell my younger self after she received the diagnosis back in 2014. Number one, I would tell her that she's still going to be able to build a life that she absolutely loves, that she's going to find a husband, she's going to have kids, she's going to have a rewarding career, that she's going to have a life that's healthy and fulfilling. The second thing I would tell her is that her body is not betraying her, that her body is her friend, it's her ally, it's her sidekick, and that this diagnosis is just teaching her how to take better care of herself than she was before. And she didn't know enough information about how to properly take care of herself so that she's able to lead not only a long life, but quality of life. So she's going to become really obsessed with health span, not just lifespan, but that she's going to lead a healthy life for the rest of her days. And even in my 40s, I truly believe that. The third thing I would tell her, because of this whole stress and output culture that she was a part of, she has a really hard time resting. So I would hold her hand and tell her that rest is important. It is not going to be her being lazy. And still to this day, it's something I have to remind myself constantly, is that rest is important and that taking breaks is beneficial to her body and it's not punishment. And along the same lines of the fact that like she's going to build a life that she loves, the number 4 thing that I would tell her is that this is not a death sentence, that receiving a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, it's a chronic disease, it's an autoimmune disease, but it does not mean that your life is over. There are so many things that you can do to take care of your body so that the disease does not progress, and I truly believe that. And every single time she has a flare in the future, I would again hold her hand and remind her that there are so many things that she can do for herself. And so I would just hold her hand and say, I've got you. We are in this together and we're not going to give up. We're not going to go into like a woe is me mentality. We're going to figure this out together. If you've recently been diagnosed with MS and you want to hang out with someone who's living well with MS, then don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And again, if you know someone that's just been recently diagnosed and is looking for resources, would you share this channel with them or this video? As a thank you for watching this video, I do have an autoimmune thriving guide that I made years ago. It's got a whole bunch of different lifestyle tips and tricks that you can tackle so that you can live well with the disease, and you can download it at a link below. Thank you so much for watching. Now go and live well, and I'll see you in the next video.